What I'd like to do now is assemble our family forest owners panel discussion. This is a very interesting part of the program, and when Lee asked me to do this part of it, I was thrilled about it because I was really interested in hearing what these family forest owners had to say. So what we're going to do, there's 6 participants in this panel, and what I'd like for you to do is if you'll come up here, we'll have a seat for you, and we'll give you a chance to have your talk. We have Carole, Neville, Elizabeth Winn, Abby Davis, Janice Rhodes, Alice Stovall, and Beatty Carmichael. So if you would, just come right on up right now. On the way up here, I was driving on the road and came up behind a Harley Davidson, and there were 2 riders on it. You can probably visualize this picture. The guy was in the front, the gal was in the back riding shotgun. That's fairly typical for that type of situation. And I began to wonder, where were they going? Whose idea was this? And the guy seemed to be pretty enthusiastic about it. And but what about the gal in the back? Was she as enthusiastic as he was? Was she just being a good sport? Was this something that she was doing for their relationship, for some sort of connection with her husband? Or was she just as happy as he was about the whole process? So in the end, I passed him and I waved and I looked at the guy and I was happy for him. He's doing his thing, right? And for the gal, I had a renewed admiration for her enthusiasm and her conviviality and her craftiness. So, the forest owners here, as I look across the room, there's a good mixture of ages, of genders, and that's a good sign for this discussion that we're just about to have. Typically, when you deal with forestry issues, it's a lot of times it's the males that are the ones that are the most interested in it and the ones that are making the decisions and so forth, but that's not always the case. But remember, the prime mover will not be owning the forest land and managing the forest land forever. So we wanted to assemble a panel of people who are in, let's call it the second chair, okay? Sometimes when you're trying a case, you need to know who's in the first chair and who's in the second chair. Who's in the first chair is primarily responsible for making everything happen. If you're in the second chair, a lot of times you can relax and pay more attention to what's going on in the moment, but you're not ultimately responsible yet for the outcome of the matter. And so what we're going to hear from is some personal stories that may be different from the prime mover of the forest land. They might agree or might disagree. They may challenge the common wisdom. There may be some things that they're still learning. There may be some things that they want to know about. And so we have assembled with us Carole, Neville. Is Carole with us? Right? Let's see. And Elizabeth Winn. Right, Elizabeth? Okay. And Elizabeth, why don't you come up here? You can use this. And then Abby Davis, Janice Rhodes, and Beatty Carmichael. Is Alice Stovall here?
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Winn. Our farm is 20 miles down the road in Barber County, in Clayton, Alabama. And it's been in the family for 8 generations. The first Winn relative bought the farm in 1834. So, and it was a regular farm, and they had animals and so forth and so on, and they planted the first trees in 1956, and then my husband took on a partnership with his father, and they started planting pine trees since 1975. Right? We plant all the varieties of pine trees. I'm so nervous. We have a hunting lease on the land. Actually, let me start by telling you we're from Baltimore, Maryland. So we don't come down very often. My husband comes twice a year. And every time we're headed on vacation, we bring the children. And so we have to go to the farm. So they all kind of roll their eyes, But we spent a lot of time on the farm. And we had a house in Clayton that's been sold. And so when we come down here, we stay at Lake Point. So this is home to us. So we come home to Alabama. Why do we do it? Well, it's fun, and it's economically it's pretty good. And my husband likes to do it. He was an attorney in Baltimore, and so it was fun for him. And the farm's been in our family for so long that we really feel that we need to hold on to it because our ancestors have walked these lands, and we really feel part of it. So that's all I've got. I can answer questions later.
Okay, very good. We are going to have some time for you to ask some questions in just a moment. What we do is Abby Davis. Why don't you give us your brief introduction?
Good morning. I just wrote a little narrative. I get a little nervous too, so I'm just going to read it. My family has owned 200 acres of forest land in Washington County since 1998. My parents bought the land mainly for the purpose of growing and harvesting timber, as well as to have an investment that they could pass down to my brother and me. Since that time, our use of the land has evolved and our enjoyment of it has substantially grown. As we got to know the lay of the land, its best uses were revealed and cultivated. The initial adventure of exploring the land yielded so many possibilities and opportunities for experimentation. The timber stands were investigated and managed, areas for hunting were designated, with tree stands and pastures, and paths and fences were made. My dad found the perfect spot for his large barn, and he put in different roads throughout the property for access, the main one being affectionately termed I-10. We still call it that. He also put gates up from the county roads, known as the mother of all gates and the little gate. Dad got a tractor and began to grow vegetables for the deer and for us. Eventually, my parents decided to build a cabin. Around that time, I was in my second year of architecture school at Auburn. The land afforded me the unique opportunity to be able to help design something while I was still in school, which was really good because my dad originally had an 8x8 windowless room planned. So it really benefited everybody in the family that we all got involved. Since the cabin's completion, the land has become a hub of activity. There's now a lake for fishing that we call the Big Dig, another building that my brother, my husband, and I helped Dad build the foundation for, a large wooden deck that has been added to the cabin, a golf cart, and a number of Dad's projects to help make the land self-sustaining and energy efficient. The barn has lighting and power outlets that all use off-the-grid solar energy from photovoltaic panels. The well will soon have its own solar power system, as will the pump house. Currently, there are a lot of different vegetables being grown in a field within walking distance to the cabin, and a shoot house for hunting during the really cold weather has been built. Also in the planning stages is an addition for the cabin to accommodate our growing family. I'm really excited about that since I now have a bit more architectural experience to offer. For my parents, the land is a valuable investment as well as a place for leisure and activities. Recently, I've really begun to see the benefit of having such a place of our own. As I've gotten older and into a sometimes stressful working environment, I really see the land as a place to escape and find peace of mind. It's a place for both quiet times of self-reflection and a time to reconnect with my family without the TV blaring or our cell phones ringing. I feel at ease there, walking the trails or sitting by the lake and listening to the sounds of nature. Last time I was there, I spent about 30 minutes on the front porch of the cabin watching a baby deer eat from the feeder. The next day, my husband and I went fishing for the afternoon and let our dog run free, something she never gets to do at home. We also drove a golf cart, hiked, and celebrated my husband's birthday with my parents. Lasting memories were made. I definitely want to keep the land in our family so that the next generation can find their own reasons for loving it. While it brings a sense of peace to me personally, it also brings a spirit of adventure and possibility. There are decisions to be made about the renewable resource of the timber and how to best manage it to get the highest financial gain from it. There are more projects to pursue and fish to catch. My brother and I both feel that it is a special place to be maintained and enjoyed, not only for the timber growing there, but for the memories made there and the ones that are sure to come.
Thanks.
Well, I'm Beatty Carmichael, and sorry, I don't like standing behind these things. Let's see, our land, we have quite a few parcels. It seems like anytime there's no family homestead, we end up acquiring it. Not really, it's just for a time. The main place we have, it was built by my 3 times great-grandfather on my maternal grandmother's side. It's an old antebellum mansion built in 1858, and I'm sure the land goes back prior to there. We acquired some land, my parents did, sometime after I was born, adjacent to that. And there's about a tract of 250 acres total. Their dad manages quite a few more acreage elsewhere, strictly as investment. But for our experiences as we grew up, we'd always go down, we call it Delmont and Lockhaven. And then about 10 or 12 years ago, about 10 years ago, I personally bought a house, the next door neighbor, half a mile down the road. And we have just really grew up there. All of our kids have grown up there. We go down there about twice a month, as much as we can. We have 2 golf carts, an electric and a gas. And one of the neat things that we've done over the years is for us, the land is an entertainment investment. And it's an investment in growing up the kids and just getting out and having a lot of fun on the land. So as the land has been timbered over the decades, we'll keep the timber lanes open, and they become the walking trails, they become the golf cart trails. Our children started driving the golf carts as they were 4 and 5 years old, and we have trails from our house through the woods to the grandparents' house. So now what happens is our children are 15, 13, and 10, and for years they've been hopping on the golf cart and driving over not grandma and granddad's, we call them Papa Don and Chief, over to the cabin. We have a 5-acre pond, so they'll go and shoot guns, and usually we will head out for a midnight ride. And during the wintertime, their favorite thing is to go out on a midnight ride and stop at the grandparents' house for hot chocolate. So for us, the land has just really been a place to raise the children. It's our family time in town. There's just not a whole lot of good family time. Everything is crazy, as y'all know if you have young children or have had young children. And so down in the country, it's just a place to get away, to get focused back on each other, and just do things as a family. As far as management, we're starting to realize that we have to start taking over management of the properties. And they are sort of spread out, some in Clay County, some in Butler, some in Wilcox, or in that area. And so it's a challenge because while Dad has done all the management, it's been his passion and ability to acquire the land over the years. We're coming in a little bit different. I and my brothers are small business owners, and so we struggle a little bit with managing our business, and now starting to realize we have to take on the responsibility at some point, 10, 20, 30 more years maybe, depending on the gene pool that we have access to, before we start taking it all over and try to figure out how do we manage this. But it's been a great blessing in our lives. And so, Dad, I appreciate all that you've done in making that possible.
I'm Janice Rhodes, and we live in Birmingham, but we have property in Elmore County, which is an hour and a half away. The first parcel of land that we purchased was an investment. At that time in our lives, we had 2 small babies, and we were living in South Florida. But we thought ahead to college. In fact, my husband thought ahead to college. I was too busy. And it was a very wise investment on his part. He was on a fast track with the company, and once a year he got a bonus, and that bonus went to pay for that property. That was 160 acres in the middle of nowhere. It is called rural Alabama. And at this point in our lives, we have clear-cut the timber. We have replanted that property. And now we have at least 2 hunting groups. It's a trustworthy group. They watch after the land, and we know them personally. That's one parcel that we own, and it's 160 acres. There's another parcel that we own that's 60 acres. And it has a bit of emotional attachment because that's the property that I inherited from my parents. It was where I grew up. At the point when I was born, it was a thriving community. We had a bus that came through the community and stopped at our store. My mother ran the store and Dad worked elsewhere. And in that community, everybody knew everybody else. Of course, in the 60s, as with many small communities, the school closed. And at that point, there were 2 churches, a Methodist church and a Baptist church. And that was the community. When the school closed, the people had no place to meet. So my parents donated a portion of their corner property for a community house. And that community house thrives today as a meeting place, a hub of the community. My family has enjoyed that property for many years. Of course, we would go back for all our family get-togethers, and my boys loved to go there because in the summertime, they had 60 acres that they could roam. And as long as they stayed within the fenced area, they could do whatever they wanted to. They could take their BB guns when they were little. They took their friends from school as they got older. Some of these boys had never been on property like that where they had complete freedom to shoot the guns and fish and just roam. So we've had a lot of good memories built over the years on that family property. Now our boys are older, they're married, and they have children. One lives in Mississippi, and they are so busy that they don't come as often as they would like to, and as we would like for them to. We have another son whose family lives in Birmingham, close to us, and they do get to visit the family place a lot. We have an attachment to that place, and I know if you've ever taken real estate classes, you are learning that you do not get an emotional attachment if you are in it for an investment. That's just one of the rules of real estate. Well, that's fine if you want to do that. But that just doesn't work in real life, does it? One day we will leave this family farm and our other property to our children. We've had a lot of moonlight and magnolia nights there, irregardless of what Mr. Czar said last night. On that family farm, we have pecan trees, we have fig trees, we have a family fish pond, and we also have an attachment to the community there. Once a year, my husband and I help with the fundraiser for the community. So the opening deer season weekend, which is the weekend before Thanksgiving, we spend in the community helping chop onions and chop potatoes and get meat prepared. And they have the fundraiser that raises money for the clubhouse to function during the year. So we help with the turkey shoot and camp stew. Just Thursday night, this past week, we came on down from Birmingham and we stayed there overnight on our way here, and we attended the community club meeting. These are people that I've known for many years, and we attend the funerals, all these people that we've known over the years, some weddings, and we're meeting the new ones as they are moving in. I feel very fortunate that I am a steward taking care of this land, because I know that this land's going to be here long after I'm gone. And your land will be too. And we have a responsibility to take care of it as best as we can. And then we'll leave it to our children. Or if you are really unemotional about it, you can sell it whenever you want to, as long as you find somebody who can buy it. And now that's getting to be a problem. But I do want you to know that having property in your family is worthwhile for you and your children. Our children certainly grew very close to our family, our extended family, because we were there on major events and holidays and times when they could really get to know their grandparents.
I'm Carole, Neville, and my husband and I have a place in Hale County that's 72 acres near Lake Payne. And this we've only had for 7 years. It's not an old family place, and not our family. And we have an 8-acre lake that we really enjoy taking the children and grandchildren and friends to, and to fish. And we enjoy the property. I think you would say it was bought for recreation. And I have no idea really what the long-term disposition of the property will be. But we do enjoy it. And what I wanted to talk about today is we have a camper there. And we have electricity and air conditioning and refrigeration. But currently we do not have running water. And when Lee asked me to talk about a lady's perspective, I think that that's something most ladies would like in a remote area. And we used to have a friend in Fayette County who had a mobile home, and he had a gas-powered refrigerator and a little bit of solar energy for our lights and run a small TV. But he had 2 rain barrels that were built up on a platform for so you'd have water pressure. And of course they took their drinking water, but this water was used to flush and rinse your hands. And so I don't ever expect a rain barrel to run a dishwasher or anything like that. But this is something we're interested in right now, is trying to get, we could get city water there, but we'd have to run several thousand feet of water line, and it's just not very practical. And so no more than we're there, that's what we're trying to do right now, is get some water there from rain barrel use. And I would like, if anybody has something like that in use right now, some information later on that. And we're very interested in the solar power too, for remote, away from the camper. And but we really do, and we have a creek that runs through the property, and we have really big, nice shooter house over one part, and we've sold timber. And but basically, I would say it was for recreation. And that's all I have to say.
What we want to do with the next little segment of our time is to give you a chance to ask questions of these panelists. So be thinking of that while I'm talking, and I'm going to get it started off. As I was listening to the panelists, I heard a lot of things about family. In fact, that was a common theme in all of your discussions and so forth. And so, but we're here at the Forest Owners Association. There's a lot of people talking about timber management and all these financial aspects of it. I'd like for you to rank on a scale from 1 to 10. Okay, 10 being the highest, 0 being the lowest. Actually, a scale from 0 to 10. Just change it. So, how do you rank the family and amenity and emotional connections to the land on a scale from 1 to 10? And then the second question is, where do you rank the timber and financial aspects of the land? Now, there's no right answer to this. This is your own personal thought. Maybe you've never given up this a whole lot of thought. But let's rank first the personal and amenity things, those family connections, the fishing, the memories that are built on a scale from 1 to 10, you personally, and then rank the timber and financial aspects. And so we'll start with Carole.
Well, I would rank family 10, and timber, I don't know, when it's ready, sell it. Not leave it there.
Janice,
Since we have two different parcels, I'd have to rank our smallest parcel that we've spent so much time with family, a 10. As far as the timber ranking on that parcel, 7. Because we have cut the timber once. We have replanted. So we are in it for an investment. On the other parcel, the one that's 160 acres, has no family connection as far as emotional ties to me. It makes a big difference. The timber, of course, would be a 10. We bought it as an investment. We are harvesting the timber as it gets ready to be harvested. And it is a 10 for me.
I think from a family standpoint, the parcels of land that we actually use for family purposes, it's definitely a 10. Out of all the things that we do with our family, going down in the country stands out as really just the tops. And our children love it. It's a place to really get down. I failed to make one comment, and I love the aspect of no running water, no electricity, because when we started going down, my wife and I, my mom and dad built a cabin out in the woods. There's no connection to any utility. So, for a period of time, we had very limited running water and only a light bulb or so from a car battery. Over the years, there's a whole panel of solar panels on multiple roofs. We have a large pier out onto the water and dug a well, and so now we have some of those amenities. And when I married my wife, it wasn't until we bought a house that was fully set up for living that she really fell in love coming down. So family-wise, it's a 10. As far as timber, at this stage in our life, there's been little that we personally managed or have seen results of from the timber. So it's not as a big draw yet, but it's one of those that we're realizing, okay, there's some importance here. I would say for me personally, timber would probably be a 6-ish, but it's moving up the scale as I realize that it's definitely something we need to start managing, and so that's where I would put it.
I think family-wise, I would say a 10 for our land. And that happened after we had the cabin built also. I think that makes a big difference. But I also see the potential for when I have my own kids and bringing them there, that would definitely stay at a 10. The timber, I'm not as involved with right now. I mean, to me personally, it's probably a 7 right now. I think it means a lot more to my parents. But I'm getting to learn about it, and not too long ago, probably about a year ago, we had a forester come out, and I went with my dad, and I walked a lot of the land with the two of them and learned about what we had and where things were and what it meant. And I can see that potential for that being a 10 after I start managing it and learn more about it.
We have to really work hard to get a family component going because we're 1,000 miles away. So whenever we drive through, I'm from Texas, so whenever we're going to Texas, we drive through and stay at the farm. So the family component you really have to work at, and you have to build those memories. So whenever you have your children in hand, go to the farm, so they'll remember. And the financial part is probably a 5. It's a nice added component, but you know, we don't depend on it. So.
All right. Thank you. Very good. Maureen, who has a question or a comment for the panel? Something I talked about? Something you wanted to hear? Okay.
I don't know if this is apropos or not, and I don't think Abby knows this, but we were the former owners of your property. We owned it for 22 years, and we acquired it by, I was in the Navy at the time, and by not spending any quality time in California, had to live on base to pay for the blooming thing. That's my wife. But anyhow, well, my objective when I bought it from a fellow in Beatty, actually Fort Worth, my objective was to improve the property, and I spent 22 years improving the property, never with the intention of selling it. Those trees you're looking at, I fertilized every last one of them by hand. It was about 40 acres. We bedded a lot of stuff. But anyhow, the point I want to make at this point in time is, and I think this organization and No Trader Forest supports it, when you have something, improve it with the idea of never selling it. And then when I got ready to sell it, at that time, I thought a good price. And my wife, years ago when we had a piece of property down around the Gulf, I sold it, made a little profit, and came April 15th, and I said, she asked me, she said, how much money do we get back? I said, we have to pay money. She says, how'd that happen? I said, we made money. She says, don't you ever do that again. And we haven't. I know your property, and I thought it'd be I only met your dad at closing, and made one at a time, so.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that was going to happen. Now, let me ask you a question. When you sold it, at the point in time when you sold it, where did you rank those on a scale from 1 to 10? Those family connections, the emotional connections to it, or the financial aspects at the point in time when you sold it? Where did you rank that?
I think I'd have to say investment, family. You know, we didn't do a lot of with the family, but at this point in history, I'll have to be very, very clear in saying it's from timber investment, not for recreational. If there's anybody from the IRS here, I think we're going to get hit soon. That track was mostly timber business.
Okay. Good. Okay.
Anybody on the panel, it's not directed to anybody in particular, but my wife and I have been involved in a couple of small businesses, and we've been extremely fortunate. God's been looking over our shoulder, and for whatever reason, we've been successful at it for the most part. And as we grew into those businesses, we then became involved with various organizations that had stuff to do with those businesses, and we began to learn more about them. My question is, how did you, with the trees, did you begin with professional help, or did you just kind of wing it and do what you thought was the thing to do? How did you approach, and how did you start that process?
How'd you start the process of professional management?
I was born I grew into it.
I'll give a plug to this organization. When we started, we didn't know much about trees or how to sell. And we went to the forester in our county and got information from him, to this office in Birmingham, the Forest Owners Association, and got information on what to do. And this organization was extremely helpful for us. We got a list of people who would buy timber. We sent out hundreds to those buyers to, solicit bids, got responses, and interviewed them, and came up with a person that we thought would be best to manage the cutting of that timber. I think you have to be careful when you contract with timber cutters. It was our experience that we had some property damage, the first parcel that was cut. And at that time, we were in a partnership with my sisters, and it was not a good experience. So when it came time for us to cut the timberland that was closest to us, and at that time also we had dissolved the partnership, then we did have a good experience with the timber cutter who came onto our property. And because we had timber cut there at the home place, it was real important for them not to go too close to the farm pond, for them not to cut the trees closest to the house. And there were other things that we wanted. There was a creek, there is a creek in the property, and they were environmentally correct in cutting. So for that reason, we thought we did a really good job in contracting with that person. This office in Birmingham had helped us tremendously, so I did want to put a plug in for that.
I'd like to know, would you take twice what was paid for the property right now? Would you take it or turn it down?
I don't think I could answer that. My husband.
All right, Janice, would you take twice?
Yes.
All right. You take twice what was paid for?
For the family part, no.
All right. All right, double your money.
I don't even know what was paid for it, but I say no.
Okay.
I'd keep it.
All right. What about it? No?
No.
All right. Anything else? Any other comments? Okay. Why don't we give a big round of, okay,
Can I
Janice?
qualify
Okay.
I need to qualify my answer. Our property that we bought for an investment is the property that I would keep. The property that I inherited is a cash cow. We spend many hours cleaning up debris, limbs, cutting grass, bush hogging. Of course, my husband has a tractor and he likes to right now. But there's a house on that property, and there's always something to do to improve. Always. If I could get twice the money that I think it's worth, I would sell it, because I think, for one thing, it would help that community to have a young family move into that house that would be there to grow up and be a part of that community.
Okay. All right. Right. Thank you, Janice. All right, let's give a big round of applause. Thank you.